we need to go to Google Maps and kind of just orient a little bit. But then when we go into the more residential spaces, then you see Brookside here. You can see that. And then we go towards Spring Valley. So this is where I'm at. I'm on General Matenge. And then Kitisuru, further north. But you can see these are all within close proximity to the forest. So that's a big picture. You can see all the rivers. So Spring Valley is characterized by a lot of hills and valleys, which make for interesting terrain, beautiful. Yeah, it's very green. And the properties transition from Westlands, where you have a lot more apartment types, Brookside towards more, you have a lot of townhouses. Shanzu has a lot of townhouses. And then Spring Valley transitions from townhouses and then a lot of standalone houses. Yeah. So standalone houses being a demarcation where a half acre per dwelling, per family dwelling is permitted. And then further north as you go, then there's Nyari Estate. And then Roslyn and Runda.
I know Runda.
Yes. So the UN headquarters is in Gigiri, is out here. You can see that next to the Karura forest. And that the UN and the NGOs that service the UN and a lot of the diplomatic consulates, which are situated around the UN, are what drive the demand for housing in these neighborhoods. Yeah. So a lot of expats do like to live near, Gigiri, Roslyn, Runda, Nyari, Kitisuru, Spring Valley. Yeah, these neighborhoods are quite popular with the expat community. This is where you also have a lot of the international schools. Yeah.
So, like, for someone who's in here, when it comes to, let's say, if I want to have an apartment, you just mentioned being close to the UN and all these areas. What's the most common assignee that you see coming over? Is that like in those areas you just gave example? Is it one bedroom, two bedroom? Okay, Runda, is it more houses? Like, what's the most common assignee that you get when it comes to now they got to come in and live in Nairobi?
So they're broad. We do have a lot of single assignees who come into Nairobi. A lot of the single assignees prefer to be in the Westlands area, close to the highway. This is because a lot of the corporates have their offices either in Westlands. A number have their offices as well in Upper Hill and Kilimani area. And so access to these neighborhoods is what a lot of corporates do ask for. The northern side, you can say, is more popular with the UN, the diplomatic missions, and a lot of the international NGOs. However, because of the restriction around build-up, it tends to have more of your, half-acre type residences. And again, those appeal to families more. So with a lot of the corporates, they will select their priority around selection of where to live is largely driven by either, if they're single, will be driven by where proximity to the office. If they're not, then they will be driven largely by proximity to the schools, to the international, for family types.
Okay, and so that's also part of your job when you're working with them is okay, once you get in, what are their requirements? What are a lot of their requirements that's going to make them comfortable? And what's the time length period that you get is it 6 months, 12 months? Because again, this is valuable for a lot of the people here who, let's say they go, whether they own or they're subletting a unit, you make it really nice. And then, how long should someone expect to, let's say someone could rent out their unit and even at a premium price for a service department?
Yeah. So again, here we have both options. A lot of the expats, when they come into the country, don't yet have a work permit. And because of that, they will hesitate to enter into a long-term lease. So during this time, they will take up temporary accommodations. And these would typically be for anywhere between 1 month up to 3 months. Yeah. Once they have their immigration status sorted out and they typically would want to enter into a long-term lease. And these would be anywhere for your, for the ones who are not bringing household goods. So your 1 and 2 bed type apartments, they would typically take them for 6 months up to a year. The most popular being a year. Yeah. And then for people looking to take up homes, so for the more family types, these are longer. Typically, they would want to lock in something for, say, 2 years with an option to renew for an additional year.
Wow.
Yeah. So for families, typically it's longer. I think families don't like moving when they lock in on something. They prefer, we've had clients even want to lock in, say, 2 years with the option to renew for further 2 years on the same terms, because they're able to negotiate these upfront, with better terms if they're able to lock in for, say, but that typically would constitute like a 4-year lease. Yeah.
And let's say a house, it's not like they would buy a house. So that could also be very interesting in terms of even doing, like, for some people who do have a higher budget, maybe even going and renting out a house, furnishing it, making it into a beautiful home. And then, so out of those assignees that you just said with the families and the houses, like if you were to get, let's say when it comes into your company, and we're going to go into the intro and we'll go into everything quick. I think this was just a really good starting conversation for people to learn a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how it is going to help a lot of people here, whether they just want to find out this information. If you were to have 10 assignees, how would you break it up? How many of them would be those type of families that just want to come in for, like you said, 2 years, 3 years, and then maybe singles and maybe couples? What's the split up between the clients that come in?
The split is currently around 50%, 50%. The family types are seasonal. So the biggest influx is always between the months of May, June, and July. Yeah, and this coincides with the northern summer break, because this is when a lot of families will make these decisions around moving. And then the singles will more or less come throughout the year. Their moves, at least, are usually not pegged upon any kind of school breaks. So yeah, it's about 50% single and not bringing in household goods. A lot of single assignees don't bring in household goods, so they would be looking for your furnished service spaces. And then the other half would be looking for, yes, unfurnished. At the moment, and this is an opportunity we actually also saw during COVID, when the shipping lines are face a lot of disruption. So we see a lot of assignees also asking for furnished homes, which are quite scarce here in Nairobi. Unfortunately, as a standard, furnished, homes do not come furnished. The assumption being that the uptake has typically been for longer leases and the assignees would bring in their household goods. But with the disruption of shipping lines, like I said, we're seeing such a huge delay, or in some cases, it's not worth, a family packing up their household goods, because they'll be in the high seas for, 6 months, upwards sometimes of a year, before you're able to stage your household goods. So we see a demand, or at least requests. We do get these requests for furnished homes. These also come sometimes from people who are moving to Nairobi, who still prefer or own their homes in their home country and would prefer to keep them furnished. Yeah. So either because they want to vacation in their home country often, or they have adult children who will still be staying on in their home countries, in which case they do not want to have to duplicate furniture and all of this. So we do get this request quite a bit for, expatriates who are maybe, who have older children or own homes in their home country and vacation often. and want that opportunity to be able to keep their homes intact for when they visit.
I think that's very important. And I want to go into this because a lot of people, for me, if I look at my intrinsic motivation was, look, I want to be in Kenya 6 months out of the year or 3 months out of the year. I want to be home because there's so many things I'm doing there. Right. But being able to have that as a base when I travel, now have that earned income, have the rent paid, have over income that can come into me because now I've made into an asset by furnishing it. So for a lot of people here are looking into 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. What would you say right now for the assignees that come into you, in terms of what you do as a relocation consultant? What are most of those that come in, and how does that fit with 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, and where? Westlands, Kilimani, Lavington, what areas would you say? Because again, this for a lot of people here who say, okay, I want to take a risk into doing this. When I'm not in Nairobi, when I'm in Dubai, when I'm in Australia, when I'm in my home country, what are the chances? And that's why this is going to be powerful with our partnership today, that, okay, when I'm not there, can I get an assignee to stay in my place for 6 months and pay a premium price? So my rental, the rent pays itself, and it's adding me an extra 1,000, extra $1,200 a month in income through one of your assignees staying at their apartment. So yeah, take it away.
Okay, so the neighborhoods that are popular for 1 bed and where we have high demand. So this highway, I don't know whether you can still see the A104, it's marked, this highway. Yeah, between this highway and this road, Gong Road. So any of these neighborhoods, so around here, referred to as Westlands or Raptor Road area, Riverside, very popular
Riverside.
because you're walking distance to Westlands. Yeah. And you also have, oops, there's so many ads coming up when I click. You also have the Nairobi Arboretum, which is quite a big attraction in this neighborhood as a place, as a green space where people can walk. Yeah. And then there is Kileleshwa, very popular. Kileleshwa neighborhood, very, very popular. Lavington, there's a small sliver of Lavington that allows apartments built up. And then Kilimani. And this is especially popular for those who need to access offices towards Upper Hill here or the city center. I also have a large number of clientele who have offices along
People scared.
Road. Sorry?
No. They had their thing off mute. Go on.
Along the highway and in industrial area. So industrial area, a lot of offices, a lot of large corporates have their offices here. The highway, Upper Hill, like I mentioned, and Westlands. So I think anywhere, because these are neighborhoods, the ones that I've mentioned, Raptor Road, Riverside, Kileleshwa, Kilimani, these are all blue zone, but they all allow for apartments to be built, so built up. And these are the neighborhoods which are popular with a lot of expatriates. Kilimani has a nice, vibrant nightlife, good walk facilities. And so, for your single assignees, a lot of them will be looking for a place where they can, walk downstairs, walk down the road and get a coffee, find a nice place where they can work in the afternoon. So this is quite popular. Kilimani is quite well designed, very walkable and quite well designed for that. That kind of neighborhood community feel. Kilimani is, I think, one of our oldest ones, which have even organized, say, community days where they, do pick up trash or do recycling, promoting of recycling and all these activities, which are very popular for a lot of the expats. They sometimes host festivals, cookouts and the like, which is quite fun. So these are the neighborhoods that I would encourage, that at least I would say, from a standpoint of getting clients, having high demand, these are the neighborhoods that would form a good focus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
between this and this.
And I think what's positive about this, guys, like, because I do look at a lot of places unfurnished, Kilimani, cheap rent, I'm seeing 60K, a lot of one bedroom, even two bedrooms at 60K a month, right? Lavington, where we got ours, is 70K a month. I pay rent. So that's what, Westlands, you'd find 80 to 100. And then also if you're going into a two bedroom. So I saw a lot of opportunity in there. So, okay, if I'm paying rent at $500 a month, then now how much could I put this up for? So let me ask you two questions. What is popular? One or two bedroom apartments? That's a big, question. Again, for me, like one bedroom was a little bit cheaper in terms of how much I was spending on the rent plus the furnishing. So what's more popular and what are the budgets that the companies give your assignees? Because it's the company who pays for their accommodation. Am I not correct? And what are some of the budgets? Because if we also kind of know what the budgets are. So imagine we could put our place with that comes as a service department, comes with a driver, comes with a full-time chef. We add services, now we can have a premium, 2,500 a month in rent, $3,000 a month in rent, so that's cash flow. So yes, few questions in there for you. And this is why it's exciting to partner with you. And I'll go into a little bit more on that later, but you're going to be helping now people go through this process because you do it for your corporate clients. So yeah, a few questions in there, but very exciting.
Okay. In terms of between one and two bedroom, so a lot of our clients come in asking for one bed. However, demand for one bed is normally very high. This we have found, and the uptake is very high. And a lot of times they're kind of pre-booked, like someone will move into a two bed and then wait for availability for one bed to move in. And then, so it never even gets into the market. We never ever hear of it. So demand for one beds are high. Then we also have the people who hear that, okay, they're moving to Nairobi. For some reason, there's a lot of excitement when people are moving into Nairobi. And so they come in with a one bed and then family members are always asking, oh, I need to come. And before they know it, they've opened a calendar with, okay, so-and-so is coming first week of May, so-and-so is coming second week of May. And, they have a booked calendar. And in this case, they change their request from the one bed now towards a two bed to allow for these requests. So we do see a lot of that where, yeah, initially people come in asking for one beds and quickly that morphs into a two bed request. I think you're safe on both ends, one bed as well as two bed. One bed, the uptake, like I said, tends to be very high, especially where you have our business travelers, the ones who are your short-let uptake will mostly want to stay in this one bed. And I think that's why demand is typically so high. They stay occupied, you can say, a lot of times booked up by the short-let opportunities that they have. But two beds are also more, especially, yeah, if you're targeting long term, I think a two bed would be maybe advisable to look at the two bed options, because people, like I said, who are coming in long term do get a lot of this family pressure to make sure that there's a guest room available for their guests when they're going to be in Nairobi for a long term.
I'll just quickly add on that. That makes so much sense. I even had a slide on this, but even for my mum, she got a two bedroom, and there's a reason why she did that. Like, even though it was so long ago, because yes, I've also been seeing that. Looking at the listings, I'm seeing, you know what? The two bedrooms are the most popular ones. Let's say even someone, they're a corporate person, they have their family coming to visit them. If you have a two bedroom, you have another room in there. It's in a prime area. Again, with all those services, you can charge higher. The only thing I didn't go into a two bedroom was a bit more capital, right? So if I spend $6,000 on, let's say, furnishing with two bedroom, I know I'm going to spend, maybe $12,000, right? Maybe even double. My mom spent 2 mil Kenya shillings just on the furnishing in a two bedroom. But that's very interesting, would you say? Now, the budget. If I have now, let's say these areas you've chosen, let's say I say, Westlands, right? I choose a two bedroom apartment in Westlands. Maybe I'm paying rent 100, because what I've been seeing on looking at the listings, two bedroom apartments unfurnished are going for 100 to 150K a month in you got to pay rent, right? You pay the bond, cool. Now, how much do you think we could charge a monthly rate for an amazing serviced, furnished, elegant apartment for that? And then what would you say classify, like in terms of the furnishing and elegance, what would you be comfortable to refer your corporate assignee to a place at that standard? What's that standard look like?
Okay, so the rents vary. Typically, the higher north you are, the higher the rental rates. Again, demand driven by, remember I talked about the presence of the UN and a lot of the international NGOs and the diplomatic missions towards the northern suburbs. In the Westlands area, so this little sliver that I'm kind of, indicating right here, typically what we guide our clients, because for the corporates, typically they would reach out to us and ask us to recommend a rent that someone can work with. So again, depending on the neighborhoods they're targeting, we go ahead and make the recommendation. Now, in Westlands area, we would typically advise in the $1,500 to $2,000 range. Yeah. So this would get someone, a decent apartment, neutral furnishing. Clients always prefer the more neutral type colors so that they can be able to splash their personality in there with their reds or, greens or whatever colors they prefer, but neutral colors. Now, in Kilimani, Kileleshwa, let me talk about first Kileleshwa, which is kind of like in the middle there. So it's kind of, it's close enough to Westlands for those who need to access Westlands, but it's also close enough to Kilimani where you have a lot of more vibrant, bubbly life, younger, a younger, more bubbly type ambience and community feel. Now, this middle zone, we would typically advise just slightly less, yeah? So in the Westlands area, we're talking about $1,500 to $2,000. In the Kileleshwa area, typically the budgets that we would recommend and what we actually see on the ground is between your, say, 13 to about 1,800 sliver. And then in Kilimani, slightly lower than that, where it can start, you would be able to get anything from around 1,000 going up to about 1,500.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me just break that down. Or did you want to add on that?
Okay, no, go ahead.
Okay, so let me break that down. You're saying high-end Westlands area, $1,500 to $2,000.
Yeah.
And can we be more specific? Is that just a furnished apartment or is that a serviced apartment?
Okay, so now the package here, you would have, or any investor has a lot of flexibility because typically what a client assignee would fall in love with is the apartment itself and the amenities that are available. Yeah. And so when you list an apartment, initially you can start with, furnished only and then optional servicing, because that gives you buffer room even for an assignee to negotiate. For example, a basic package of servicing may include, you include electricity and water and internet. Yeah, you can choose to cap some of these services. So for electricity, say you would say that for a month, you would cap it at 5,000 Kenya shillings a month. And if it goes beyond that, then they would top up, yeah? Water is typically not expensive, so this is typically not capped, but electricity, a lot of landlords would cap that just to protect themselves, depending on occupancy and all of this. And then internet, you would provide either a basic package, and this one you can more or less provide it at cost. So it can be a basic package, say, 10 Mbps speed or 30 Mbps speed. And then if they want to upgrade, you can offer them options, what are the upgrade speeds? And then you just, build this at cost. Housekeeping, this is another one you can customize based on their request. A lot of our single assignees are happy with just once a week housekeeping. Others will be happy for 3 times a week housekeeping. Some will even want their personal laundry also included as part of the housekeeping service. So here you have a lot of leeway to customize depending on the assignee's budget and what they prefer.
So
yeah.
Let me add on that. As a businessman myself, what I think when I think of this, I say, okay, because I put myself in the client's shoes, and I want to go into even how we met, but I put myself in my client's shoes. So let's say if I offer a service department, they get a driver. So you get a full-time driver. When you're in Nairobi, you come stay at an apartment. You don't need to try book Uber. You get a full-time driver. You get a full-time chef. Cleaning 4 days a week, 5 days a week, if it has to be, comes in clean. You're working, boom, everything clean with a cleaner, and even like you get a fitness trainer. If I was to add all those amenities, plus the apartment comes with a gym, with a pool, how much do you think I could charge now for rent? Because what I'm thinking, for example, like let's say I think $2,000, for example, even 2,500, that's about $500 a week, right? Living in Australia, the way we pay rent, it's unbelievable. We pay here like $1,200 a week, so it's ridiculous. So to have all those amenities in a prime location for $2,500, $3,000 a month with all those added things, I mean, that's nothing to them. And then, so I'd love to get, because you're the one who works on the ground with these companies, so you can speak on that. What would you charge, if that, with all those amenities, for a corporate client that comes to you?
Okay, so the driver, that one, I'll be honest, we haven't received this request, so that would be booked separately. Yeah, so a lot of the corporates would schedule, a driver service, and we have a number of companies that can provide this service.
Okay.
Yes, and then a chef. So again, as part of housekeeping, a lot of housekeepers are able to do the catering requests. A lot of our corporate clients, because they're not here on holiday, they're not here really on a vacation, so they do not, they like their private space, I'm going to say this. So actually, a lot of our clients find this overkill. The request for, 3 times a week housekeeping or daily housekeeping, they're just like, no, they're not used to it. They're coming, a lot of them, again, they're coming from the West. They're not used to living or sharing their private spaces with a lot of staff, so they do get overwhelmed. I'll be honest. This is the general feedback that we get. A lot of them do feel quite overwhelmed, and even when they do have the housekeeping, they would prefer, say, housekeeper, if they're coming in 3 times a week, then it's scheduled with them. So it is either in the morning between 9 and 11, Monday, Wednesday, Friday only. They do, they would prefer just that arrangement, or in the afternoon between the hours of 2 and 5, when they know they're not going to be there, they're going to be in the office, so that they really, I found that a lot of our clients really value privacy. I think for a lot of us African families, we're kind of so used to living with staff, and we don't realize how much this overwhelms people who are not used to it. But that has been my experience. Very rarely do I get an assignee asking for more. They more normally want to pull back and say, no, I don't need someone here all the time. I like to cook for myself, culturally, even from, there's always those little nuances where, they prefer to handle things on their own. But yes, I mean, what you have brought up is an interesting request. I'm yet to receive it. But I think the best way around it is initially work with a furnished only as a basic, and then based on the client's request, then you can build on it. A lot of these requests, I would assume, may be popular for maybe people coming in as tourists, so here short term and want to enjoy themselves and don't want the hassle of preparing their own meals, maybe need a driver to be able to move around, maybe tour a lot more. Again, like I said, a lot of our clients are corporate clients, so they're coming straight to the office. And actually part of the reason why we are engaged to assist them is so that they can be able to focus on the office. So their mind is purely focused only on having as much peace as possible on the home front, so that they can be able to deliver on the assignment that they came here to do. So a lot, other than the request for the second bedroom because of family overwhelming them with visit requests. A lot of our clients, surprisingly, don't really ask for, they normally ask for less. The only request on more would be maybe internet. internet speed. A lot of assignees do ask, especially those who are working from home a lot, do ask for increased internet speed. But on the rest of the services, rarely.
And I think what's interesting to hear still, just for the serviced, or furnished, those simple things that you just said, in those Westlands areas, that's 1,500 to $2,000 a month, right? You guys can charge it anywhere in there. Guys, remember, in Westlands, let's say for one bedroom, you could pay rent to about one bedroom, you could pay rent from $600 a month, $700 a month, but now you can charge 1,500 to $2,000 in rent for, let's say, a corporate assignee comes from you, right? So, like, I think that's very powerful to hear. What I would ask is, when is the low season for you? Like, when's the low season for your business? There's a few questions before we, talk about our big announcement today. And then also, what countries are most of the countries that are coming from, like in terms of assignees? But yeah, when is the low season? And then before I get to my next big question, you also said something in our last podcast, which I'm yet to release, which is coming. You said it was really, really powerful in regard to your corporate assignees, and when they come to Kenya, what's the pain point that you have in your situation? So yeah, I know there's a few questions there, because in terms of what you were saying, in terms of the short-term stays with the networking, so people are coming for 2-3 days, 4 days a week, that's quite powerful, because now that also leaves income for short-term stays, and you can premium it high. But anyway, yeah, go on.
So our seasons, let me first start there before I get into our pain points. The seasons for our single assignees, so we're talking about a 1 and 2 bedroom uptake, there is no season. So we see more or less consistent inflow throughout the year.
Wow.
Throughout the year, we see assignees taking up. Maybe for those who are working around, say a fiscal year, say of January start, we have had some corporates that do, say, a January 1 start, and are expecting, from fiscal year 1st of Jan, they would like their, an assignee or an employee to report into the office by 1st of Jan to start with that fiscal year start. Then sometimes around your November, December, we have a bit of an uptick. But more or less throughout the year, we see single assignees moving. Families, like I said, that typically would be around the school breaks. For families that are transitioning from a Northern Hemisphere school system and moving to a Nairobi, same thing, the international schools, which majority of them follow a Northern Hemisphere school start. So they would be starting around August, September. So this is when we would have families coming in. We do get some families also coming in over the November, December, especially those who are coming in from Southern Hemisphere countries, Brazil, South Africa, Australia. So those typically would have like a school year that starts in Jan, Feb. So we would see a bit of that uptake with families around that time, but nowhere near, the Northern Hemisphere holiday ones. Yeah. And then on our biggest pain point around the 1 and 2 bed has been, you laughed at this, you found it funny, but it truly is a big pain point for us, because we're competing, our clients would be competing with our shortlets. And so we do get a lot of situations where, you had photos and we had a web link for a certain apartment. And then, because typically we would start our research, say, about 4 or 5 days prior to when the assignee is available to come and view the unit. And then on the day of the viewing, it was booked the prior day, the day before or 2 days before, and is no longer available in the market. So it's always a bit of a disappointment when you arrive at an apartment complex, and then you're told, okay, the particular one that you saw photos on, that was taken. And instead, a second option is offered as an alternative. Sometimes we're not so sure as well whether some of the booking agents may be using, these nicer apartment photos as bait. But we do work with trusted realtors on the ground. So we hope that they're being honest about the fact that when they're offering these alternatives, it's not because they use the first photos as bait. But yeah, this is a big pain point for us, where we're competing with the short lets. And yeah, a lot of times, I guess, in the case of a landlord, you would lose out on getting a long-term assignee, you know, because your apartment is not available to view when the short let option, when it's already not available, yeah, is taken up by a short let tenant.
And guys, like, so you said like two very powerful things in this conversation that I don't want to go over your head. The first thing that you said with what's coming through to you, one boy, that there isn't really a low season. You're getting clients all throughout the year, which is very, very good news for people, because a lot of people's are like, when even like, as I said, for me, my personal advice is do it as like you want to relocate back to Kenya. You want to come home 3 months out of the year. So make your place like it's for you, right? Because if you can live there with high standards, then you know someone else is you're gonna have someone else. And so I always give that advice. But the fact that you're saying throughout the year, it gives people assurance. And then the second thing there, the reason why the pain point, I asked that because, you know, I always think, okay, how can we provide value? So for the people in this room now, bringing you with us, one boy on the team, is now you being part of this process and guiding the people in here. We're going to do it, you know, for even this television series, to guide people through this journey, and you being a part of it and being able to have your help here because you're the one who has these assignees. Now, because of your pain point is you're competing in the market. But with our group here, like my places now are fully booked. So if my places are occupied, there's so many other people here who we're going to build nice apartments in. And then gives you that comfortability to refer them, and they get exclusive access. You get exclusive access to the people's apartments here. I wanted to get your thoughts on that quickly.
Yes, definitely. I mean, that's actually something I'm looking forward to, having some form of a database where we have access, I guess, to the landlords directly, and can be able to maybe advise on the value of, say, you know, allow us to, or have some clause negotiating that even when you have this short let assignees, are they open, say, to a viewing, you know, to viewings after 11 o'clock in the morning? I mean, we can respect privacy, you know, early morning, and then, yeah, we can work something out. And I'm happy to explore that possibility of how do we do a workaround around this. Like I said, it's a serious pain point for us. Yeah, it's a pain point.
Okay. Guys, I want all of you guys here to ask your questions. Like, you know, use this time to ask your questions. I didn't want to go too long into this because, you know, I know how valuable time is. So it was just awesome because we just went straight into this, like everything's authentic. So this is our television series that I want to talk to you guys about. Again, the good news was when I was doing this, one boy, I didn't have you, but I'll tell you a quick backstory of how I met one boy, guys. So I manage, and I'll just share my screen quickly, but I'll just share quickly here. So I invested in an Airbnb in our rental about 7 months ago. And I did it because I was like, you know what? It would be nice to have an apartment. I pay all that money on Airbnb. When I go to Kenya, I have my fiance there. I want to be there longer, but it's just because when I go there so much. So we got an apartment. We did the whole Airbnb thing in terms of, you know what? Let me just, when I'm not there, let's put it up for rent, right? So as I did that, and as I run my company, I had that on the side. But then I came to a point in our Airbnb and I said, wait a minute, just like any business, the way I run my business, okay, I can't just rely on Airbnb. Of course, I want to make this apartment make as much money as it can when I'm not there. So far, it's been paying my rent. I haven't been paying the rent out of pocket. A few months here, 1 month, I paid it out of pocket. But, you know, so then I'm thinking, okay, if I just rely on Airbnb, then that leaves me now in the hands of Airbnb, booking.com. They also take commission. So I say, okay, what's another way that I can get a client? Okay, another way is friends and family. I just had now my fiance said, hey, her friend's a flight attendant. She's coming from Qatar. She stayed in my apartment this past 4 days. it paid a portion of the rent. So also your friends and family, a lot of you guys who are diaspora, you have your family traveling to Nairobi. Maybe your apartment, they can go stay there for 3 months, 4 months when they're in Nairobi and Chad. So that's another way. And then another way I said, okay, well, who's coming to Kenya? Then I thought, okay, who's someone like me? I'm someone who's busy. I'm working all the time. Then I thought, okay, corporate people. Corporate people are traveling to Kenya. So then I said, okay. Then I found out there's a relocation consultant, someone as powerful and visionary and creative and as awesome as you, who helps corporate people with these companies come and move to Kenya. So what does that mean? In business terms, that's a referral partner. So I think, okay, customers, and then I think who's a referral partner, meaning who is someone that has access to my clients, right? So they're not a client, but you have access to my clients. In every business, you have to think like that. Not only just customers, but who can I partner with that has access to my clients? And so you are that amazing person. And guys, you can follow One Boy on LinkedIn. I'll just show you here. You can follow her on LinkedIn, which I found your amazing LinkedIn relocation at In Touch Relocations. Can you talk a little bit about how you got to this position? Like, one thing I do in terms of my business on ETS Rubasha Media, I do a lot of client acquisition. That's how I'm able to find people so quickly. And a lot of people who are in the WhatsApp group, I told them this. I said, hey, I wanted to build the relationship, and that's what life is about. Everything business is about relationships. So how long have you been at In Touch Relocations, and how does even business come to you? Just a little bit topic there before we talk about the TV series, and now partnering with you so we can also provide a solution. And it gives people satisfaction that, okay, when I'm not there, then I have access to you, and now you have access to their properties to be able to move in your clients so that they get their stable $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month, which is maybe $1,300 in profit after expenses. So anyway, can you talk a little bit about how you got into where you are?
Yeah, super. Okay, a little bit about myself. So I'm Kenyan, born and raised, but I spent a lot of my adult time, life outside of the country. At the age of 18, I had an opportunity to move to the US for my studies. So did my first degree, second degree. And shortly after my work study program, I moved back to Nairobi, this time now as an adult. So with an adult kind of mindset, had left here at 18, came back at almost 9 years, or almost 28, 27, 28. And moved to Nairobi with my 20-foot container and trying to figure life out, renting an apartment, trying to think about investment long term and all of this. Then I was here in Nairobi for 3 years, and then we had another relocation, this time as a family. And by which time I was married and I had my first daughter. So we were moved to Dubai on my husband's work, and I found myself, well, my family was still young, so I was still able to go back into my work, which was health management. And then after another 5 years, it was time to come back home. So I found myself being shoved around quite a bit. But the experience of having moved to Nairobi first as a single, just myself and my 20-foot container, and then later, with 2 children and a husband and a 40-foot high cube container with very different needs now, because I had a school, my youngest one, who was born before we left the country, had started school. So I was looking at Nairobi again, very different from now as single assignee, because now I have family and I'm thinking schools, I'm thinking I need a space for my children to kick a ball. And so the opportunity to join relocations came naturally. It started as a request of, jump on a call. Could you advise? Could you guide? And when the offices were set up here in Nairobi, I was happy to come on board as a partner. So that's how my relocation business started and has grown. I have passion for Nairobi because I'm born and raised here. I love the city, and I want to present it in positive light. I've settled here, like I said, single, and later with family. I have chosen to have this as my base. I had mentioned to Sujira that I'm partly here and partly in DC. but this is my base. This is where I'm raising my family, raising my children. And yes, I love this city, and I'm all for presenting it in positive light and looking at the opportunities that the city has to offer. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Go ahead and ask.
No, you go.
So you asked about how we get our clients. Like I said, we mostly work with corporate clients. Actually, 90% you can say of our clients are corporate clients, and it's through referral networks. So a lot of the contracts for the multinationals are held at headquarters level. So depending on where the company has their headquarters, in New York, in London, in Johannesburg, this is where the contracts for their mobility services are held. So we work as an extension of their HR arm, and this is how we partner. So their HR arm would reach out to us through our global partners and give us a brief that we are, say, in 2026, we plan to move, 10 employees into Nairobi. The timing around that will be individual, depending on, of course, how their projects come to a completion and how soon they're expected to report to their new assignment. And so this is how we work. We reach out to them as soon as we receive the initiation, start a briefing call, as I mentioned, just to hear their timelines, and we can be able to get them into a calendar just so we don't miss anything. We assist them with their immigration documents, and then, with all the formalities, any questions that they have. So we're partnering with them even before they arrive in country. So the point at which will be relevant, I think, for a lot of the landlords and people who are looking to take this up as a business opportunity will be once they are in country and have authorization to look for housing, because the timelines around this, we work very closely with them to make sure to schedule them at the appropriate time. When they receive their work permit and they are now officially authorized to sign a long-term lease, then we go ahead and schedule a home find. And during this time is when we work with, say, about 3 or 4 days before they are available to come out and view properties, we would start researching properties. So we would reach out to the agents, our partners in the neighborhood, or in this case, if we come up with a database of landlords or some form of WhatsApp communication or something, we would reach out on this group and say, hey, I have a client. Typically, we would have a good brief from HR, so we would know what their budget is, what neighborhoods they prefer. And, they normally list their preferences, of it would be good to have this, or this is, a good to have, but not mandatory. So they would have their list of what they dream about, and then, of course, what they were happy to compromise with. So we would share this information, and then you would revert and say, hey, my unit is available. Please include it in the viewings. And then we would do that and then bring the client over, let them have a look. If they select the property, then we're happy to engage. We do the lease review, we do a property inspection, and voila.
And for the people who are going to be a part of this series, because we are turning this into a TV series, which is very, very, very exciting. That WhatsApp group will be there. So when you do get an assignee, there's a WhatsApp group with every landlord in this group here that matches your apartment. Like I said, my apartments are full. So business is all about value. If I give value to my clients and they're winning, we all win, right? So we have a WhatsApp group, that comes in through you. So the most important question, and guys, I want you guys to ask your questions. What fits, like, if they were to come and view my place today, what makes them say, like, what are the minimum requirements? Because in this roadmap that you're going to be a part of as well to help us get these apartments right. So we have this, the furnishing is probably one of the most important parts, right? Of course, the location here is going to be very important. So, you're going to be also part of the property walkthrough. I'll get your role, what you're going to play in here. But of course, the location, very, very important. And you just laid out in a strategy call with you that we're going to be able to know what exact location are we going. What's your budget if you're from 60K to 100K that you can pay rent for, pay bond, and all those things. Yeah. So in terms of what is suitable for you to that you're comfortable to refer your client to in terms of the furnishing? What are the minimum requirements that you're going to, even you, because I'll even say to you guys, even in all business, and that's why I did my research on Wamboy, right? I don't just work with everyone or partner with everyone just because you may have access to my clients, because I need to trust everyone that I work with. So I did my research on you because there's so many others that also do the same thing. So you really stood out because I believe integrity is quite powerful. So yeah, what would you say in terms of if you were to because you would feel comfortable referring one of your signees if you've been there, if you've been part of the process, because you know this, if it's not good, you're not going to refer your client there because you're putting your reputation on the line. I'm not going to refer someone and I've never tried their product or I've never tried that. No, I have to know you and trust you to refer you to someone else. That's just how I roll. So what suits as a world-class apartment? One or two bedroom. And I'll just quickly show, we can go through like mine quickly, and maybe you can even comment on mine, what your thoughts are. Is this something that you would even refer a client to?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so broadly neutral colors, we find that a lot of, I think that has the best appeal. The assignees that we deal with are coming from all cultures. Yeah, so these are, we get a lot of people from Asia, we get a lot of clients from the Middle East, from the US, from Canada, from South America. Within the African continent, we also have a lot of recruitment and movement of resources within human resources within the continent. So with that kind of diversity, we find that if you pick a niche area and focus and, furnish it to niche, then we get a lot of, where clients are not taking up this apartment and we always wonder why. And you'll find, for example, a lot of our clients from the Middle East. Okay, I can say this because I actually live there. I used to, a lot of, I call them meta, a lot of sparkling things, a lot of crystals and a lot of gold trimmings and na. And you'll find that, someone a Caucasian will walk into that and be like, wow, this is a bit much. So neutral tones, ideally nothing too glossy, pick neutral colors, neutral tones, allow the assignee, especially in our case, because these are long-term assignees. So they're happy to then now come in with their splashes of color. They will ask for permission, of course, before they put up like any kind of wall hangings, but they will personalize it because they're staying there for a year. So let it be neutral, a neutral plate. So stick with your beige and light grays. And then from there, allow then the assignee, the tenant who moves in, to now come in with their splashes of their personality coming across. So a lot of our clients do prefer to work with a neutral base.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting for people there. I hope you guys are writing this down. Just very quickly, what would you say are the risks? Because in any business that I do, again, I want you guys to think of this as a place that you're relocating to. How many of you guys, you can put a number one in the chat. Put a number one in the chat if you love going back home to Kenya. If you have family there that you go see. Me, I'm in a long distance relationship, my fiance there, or you have your daughter there, your son there, or you just love going there. And we can even go into holiday homes later, which is in Mombasa. But as an operator like myself, what is my biggest risk? I would say, like what I can see here in terms of when, one of these amazing people or one of the 6 people because we're doing a 6-episode series. And guys, this will be documented from every, the first meeting with Wamboy, because this is also great marketing for all of us, for Wamboy as well. All the companies, we're going to make them come to her so we get more clients, right? So, if we market this in a big way, which is what we do, we're a marketing company. So what's my biggest risk when one of our amazing people come to and say, Sujira, okay, let's do this roadmap. We have Wamboy on the team. We've got me. We've got an interior designer. We've got the property management. We're ready to make a place that when we're not there, a corporate assignee can come and pay us 1,500 or $2,000 a month minus expenses. We're sitting on about 1,700, 1,300 cash in hand. So what are my biggest risks? I will say one thing, I'm always looking at listings, all the best places, I'm going to them. You may also know a really good realtor as well. So that's a great addition because you're also there. You may know a realtor that you can really trust that can maybe find us an unfurnished place in whatever area we want so that we can go directly there. That could also be an option. So what would you say is the biggest risk in terms of finding the right place that a corporate someone could stay in our apartment for 1 year, 6 months, 4 months, 8 months, and pay 1,500 and 2 grand to give us that consistent cash flow?
I don't think of much in terms of risk. Yeah, I truly can't. But I maybe because I'm thinking about it from the, wearing the hat of the one who's looking. I truly cannot think of one. I've run Airbnb myself. We had a house in Diani, and I think as the landlord who was managing, I was managing the house. I think the biggest issue I felt for me at the time was I did not have autonomy around selecting who my tenants would be. And I would sometimes attend, I don't know. I think the house ended up in some interesting side because then I started having clients with more and more bizarre requests. They would say, for example, they don't want the housekeeper or the pool attendant to be within the compound and they want their privacy, and they would send them home, and then we would come back and find beer bottles broken in the pool. So then I felt, okay, now I need to take this off those public sites and see how I can get rental around referrals that I have some form of vetting ability. And that worked good for a while, and much better because then I didn't have this kind of party types who were taking up my house and of course causing a lot of damages. So I'm trying to relate that to a similar scenario here, as it would apply here in Nairobi, where you might have, say, be listing on an open platform and finding that you could be getting a lot of, the shortlets, could be prone to a lot of abuse, because then you have the party types who would, book the house out just to hold a party and then cause a lot of damage. I don't know, Sujira, if you've had this kind of experience, but I know it is real. During COVID, we did have a lot of this when there was a lot of the curfews, when properties were being used for parties. Now I think it's much less, and we are getting a lot of developers who are putting this kind of restrictions around their buildings, saying that they would prefer to have only to restrict shortlets from a security standpoint. This is the only one I can think of.
Yeah. I would just say for me, it's music to my ears because within 4 months of my journey on Airbnb, like you just said, I was thinking, I'm just a businessman. I said to myself, I can't just rely on Airbnb. I can't just rely on I'm putting my like if I want to really make money out of this, or I'm gambling, right? And like you said, you want quality clients. You want people who, if someone's going to pay 2 grand in a month, trust me, they're going to appreciate your place. The people who pay more money appreciate your place. A lot of people, they think they can get into this Airbnb business and it's going to be good. No, guys, I'll be honest with you, it's not that easy. Those days of booking and getting bookings are gone. And then also you're competing on price. Any business, even my business, I don't like to compete on price. And I'm going to show you something, guys. A lot of people fear this. This is my apartment. It just happened. And this is exactly my point. So, if we just got our latest review, and look at it's a really bad review. So someone come in because of the price, and you get clients who, I mean, we're really amazing. We've had an amazing review before, and we've always had people never got a bad complaint, but we got a really bad complaint. So now if I get a really bad complaint, which is the worst fear everyone has on Airbnb, to get a bad complaint, because now if I get a bad review, who's going to book my place? But you see, if I don't rely my business on Airbnb, then I don't care. Even if I don't get any bookings on Airbnb, I have referrals who are booking and paying my place, who stayed at our place and they loved it. We have people like you who, who can refer clients. So even the corporate clients are even better. So I think that's very important. That even your biggest fee getting you don't want, if you're going to do this Airbnb business, guys, you don't want to put it in the hands of someone else. I'll be honest with you. For me, I try to maximize revenue from everywhere. But now if we have you here, one boy, to help people get now tenants, people it gives that power. So quickly before we get out of here, again, announcing our TV series, I think what's really powerful, I'm excited about the photography and video tour of everyone's apartment. One boy will be a part of that, and we knock out two birds in one stone. This goes marketing, so we put it out there so your apartment gets featured globally through all of our networks. It's out there. It's up on YouTube. So now also people can book in your place, because the photographs and the videos are very, very important when it comes, like even on Airbnb, those photos, everything, booking.com for your corporate clients. When you send them, if we got to send them the best photos, mum, she spent 10K or something. So a lot of people who are paying for this is how it works. You pay, we have a contract, we start getting your viewings ready. And then now we have the strategy call with one boy. So can you talk a little bit about what's going to be your pivotal role in this process from our very first meeting together? So it'll be me, you, and one of six of these amazing people in here. What we do next, from what of partnering with us, and then once we put this out to the world, and we're also looking at sponsorships and making this bigger. So yeah, you could go ahead on your role here.
Yeah, where I see myself is being able to align with what our clients are requesting. So I think this is important from a standpoint of being able to select, so starting with the right selection. Yeah. Sujira is very good with the furnishing. You've seen his unit, amazing, very beautifully done, the kind of neutral colors, splashes of plants. Yeah. Yeah, you can see that the green, the neutral colors, fantastic. Great job. Amenities within buildings, these are big. We do get a lot of clients asking for good amenities, a gym, a pool, at least a space where they can sit and have some sun. Green views. This is the biggest seller for Nairobi. A lot of people who are interested in coming to Nairobi, the one thing they look forward to is just, green spaces. So either a terrace area, a balcony, a rooftop space where somebody can sit down, have a coffee or work. So aligning with what the market is asking for and making sure that you select a place right from the get-go. I think this becomes, the most critical first step is getting this selection right. Yeah, those are beautiful.
So this, and that's why I said I don't mind. Like, so we've had some people like we're putting all of the top 10 viewings that I'm seeing on, I look at Buy Rent Kenya probably every day. Again, it's about service to our clients. So I'm always looking here at different places, to get a really good deal. Again, if I can get an apartment at 70K, like my one is 70K in Australia, I can pay this rent. Even when I go to Kenya, I'll pay rent before. It's totally fine for me. It's very affordable. It's good. So, kind of putting all the top 10 viewings, as many viewings as you can. I'm also looking at, okay, even just dealing, I don't know if it's being in Kenya also, but dealing with a little bit of the landlords or the agents, sometimes shadiness. So it takes me, I got to trust, I really test a lot of people to see, can I trust this person? Because that lease agreement is going to be important. The landlord's going to be important. The way we did ours was also very secure in our beautiful place here. So yeah, like you're saying, so would you say this part would be the most important part of this 8-week roadmap?
Yes. The initial call, the strategy call, this is important to understand your budget, what you can work with, and then how to get the best for that amount. And then, and then from there, then we get into, the legal and all of this, making sure you have a proper lease, or at least an engagement with the landlord, a good arrangement in place. We do lease review, but I guess the lease review we would be doing would be on behalf of our clients, or at least on my side, on behalf of my clients. So I would be engaging you as the landlord. So this is a bit different, but I can advise a little bit about maybe some clauses around protecting yourself, make sure you have a good exit clause in place in case you need to terminate the lease for whatever reason. But I think beyond that would be now marketing, trying to bring in as many of our corporate clients in to have a viewing and give it the best chance of getting someone long-term to take it up.
Yeah, which is how interesting life works. Again, guys, marketing. The reason me and one boy are here, the reason why within just doing this, and like I only acted like this Airbnb stuff, guys, I'll be honest with you, I've just let my fiance handle it because I'm busy running my business. But then I don't know, just for some reason it came calling to me, maybe because I've always wanted to relocate back. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm a marketing, I run, we got marketing agency of the year in Australia, or we were finalists for marketing agency of the year. We had an award ceremony and everything. So I'm like, wait a minute, okay, every business, there's the marketing involved. It's the one of the most important any business out there, guys. All the people McDonald's, all these big people. Why? Is because marketing, they know how to market. So when you know marketing, you can dominate any industry. Airbnb, this industry is not the same. And like the way I just broke it down. So what you said is very crucial. And that's why as a marketer, I said, you know what, let's build a TV series. So a lot of you guys, we will have a contract, for your permission, if you want to put this up on YouTube and have this, some people may be private, I don't know. But for me, it was great because it's like, okay, do you want people to see your apartment? Also something that, one boy will be comfortable also sending them the video so they can watch your place, even get your story. I don't know if a lot of you guys have watch YouTube. I'll just quickly show you. I was just searching it here. Web Nation Africa, one boy. I don't know if you know this. They're doing what I'm kind of, introducing here, and they're showing stories of people who are doing what some of these guys here will be doing in terms of relocating. Some of these people are relocated full-time from America. They've relocated like full-time. Some of these guys, a lot of the people here are like me who live in Dubai and they're staying in Dubai most of the time, or they're staying in the UK most of the time, or Australia. But maybe they now can come to Kenya for 4 months out of the year because they're doing what we're doing. They're not buying a property. And then just very quickly, guys, the cash flow that you get from this can allow you to buy an off-plan project. It can allow you to buy a property because you've received 8 months of consistent cash flow from a corporate tenant from one boy, So yeah, just I would love to get your thoughts on that, the show, and and what would you, if someone is feeling like, oh, should I do this? Because like everything is a risk. When I did this, guys, as I said, I knew my biggest risk was, what my biggest risk, guys, was if I don't get bookings, can I afford the rent? That was my biggest risk. And I am, because I can't afford that rent, I have a place in Nairobi. So even if I don't get bookings, well, look, of course, if the rent can pay itself, I'm happy. If the other people can pay it and pay me, I'm happy. But worst case scenario, I can pay that rent. Once that risk was ticked, then I'm all in. So yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts as we announce our show.
Yeah, I think this is what you're saying is very right. The biggest risk is indeed, can you make that rent if you don't get a client? And when you do get a client, hopefully then you can make up for the rent that you have had to pay. Especially in our case, when you have a long-term client, this is a good arrangement. A lot of our leases are at least from a preferential standpoint with corporates, they prefer to have, say, quarterly payments so that they're not having, because of the bureaucracy around raising payments. So the shorter the frequency of having to make rent payments, the better for them. If it's an individual lease and they're signing an individual, then they're happy to go, every month as they go. But for a lot of the corporate clients, they don't want the nuisance of having to request for invoices and processes every time. So quarterly payments would indeed be, a welcome relief for a lot of people. Also make sure, what I'd advise as well, make sure to build in a good security deposit with your long-term leases. There's a provision for this. And this would be either 2 or 3 times the value of the rental. And this protects you in case the condition of the property requires a lot of redoing. So if you have to do, say, a deep cleaning of all your soft furnishing, you may have to replace the couch cover, so reupholstering. you may have to change out, say, you know, the iron board cover and this and that. There was a stain on the carpet and the like. So you have a buffer to work with, which is collected upfront, and would only be returned back to the client at the end of their year stay, less the expenses that you have now spent having to redo your unit. So there's an appeal with long-term rentals that I do want to get out there. I don't know whether I'm marketing too hard in terms of trying to get people to lean more towards our corporate clients. But yes, it is something to consider.
Guys, you know, there's a pain that one boy has, and you know, like it's interesting. It's so interesting because I was seeing a lot of these things, the demand for serviced apartments, furnished apartments. Like before I met you, I had already seen a lot of these things. So when you told me that in that podcast, I was like, oh my goodness. So a lot of you guys will now have access to this. And someone like you, in terms of even what you were saying in that advice on, you know, even the bond now in this like we're going to know all these things, just those extra small things that you see from your side, from a corporate tenant, that you will be able to give advice here. That's going to be powerful. So guys, please, any questions that you guys have for one boy, like, you know, again, I even tell people, guys, like, you know, you can even take this information, run with it, steal this whole business idea. Still, I'll give you this whole business. People say, oh, don't steal. Even me, I steal things from other big businesses and use what they do. But no one could do it as saucy and good as us. That's how I feel. No one could do it the way I would do it. And I would use my imagination and to collaborate with people like one boy. But literally, like, music to our ears in terms of everything you said was just like. And another thing, what I loved, guys, I don't know if you heard that, guys, please get your questions ready. But another thing I just heard you say was a lot of your corporate clients prefer quarterly payments. So in a business, when I run my business, it's always the best, even the way I charge clients, when you charge them upfront. So quarterly is every 3 months, right? So you're telling me the clients, instead of worrying every month, they pay their rent, and you know it's a corporate company 3 months in advance. If our apartment is $2,000 a month times three, that's about $6,000. Let's say you're paying rent $800 a month. You pay the rent of $800 a month, you get $6,000. You pay property management for us to manage the place for you, and the rest of it gets cash flow. So now you're receiving upfront payments, quarterly payments. You've exactly a bond, like you said, they should get a good bond, and now you're receiving payments upfront. Imagine. Boom. And that's even better for you. You have more cash up front. You could again imagine you get someone to stay in your apartment for 9 months out of the year and you stay there for 3 months, guys. Let's say you stay there with your family, but 9 months out of your year, you've got a corporate tenant. They're paying quarterly, giving 2K, 1,500, right? So everything in life is a risk, but again, my goal was, if I'm going to do this and I'm going to help other people do this, I don't want to struggle. You know, I don't know about you guys, but I like to work smart, not hard. So if I know someone who can have access to our clients, and now all of you guys can have all your places, because, you know, and have that priority access, we solve her problems. You solve our problems, and it's an all big ecosystem. We all eat. So guys, what questions do you have? And one boy, anything just to say to round it all off? But guys, please ask your questions now as one boy rounds it off, so we can all go about our days.
I know, I'm looking forward to these questions. But yeah, I want to say, well, for those of you who are looking to move to Nairobi, welcome. I'm not sure whether you have already visited, if you're a bit familiar, but our weather here is fantastic. So that's a big plus. No central heating and cooling systems in the city, so that reduces on our power costs and all. But you also get to enjoy, you know, a pace of life that goes well with family. Let me put it this way. You know, a slow pace of life here in Nairobi, beautiful green spaces, and a culture that's very vibrant, friendly, vibrant, highly educated, hardworking, and yeah, we look forward to assisting you. This is exciting. Like I told you, I love the city, and I love anybody who is going to come in, and I want to make your experience as smooth as possible. I'm happy to share my own experiences. It's not all, glim and glam. I mean, I've had my downsides as well. The culture here, again, because of the over competitiveness, can be a bit much, but I'm happy to speak on that separately. But for now, those looking to, establish Nairobi as some form of a base, I would encourage you fully.
Last quick question from me. And just very quickly, in terms of like a lot of the things that you said, one boy, like even I didn't even share this with you, for example, but like you see here, I don't know if you guys can see, but it says like in terms of serviced apartments, what are the most popular that gets the most bookings? Look at that, 2 bedroom at 42%. 1 bedroom, 35%. So exactly, one boy, everything, even without speaking to you, I was doing my research on this and you literally verified everything that like I had seen. I had seen 2 bedroom was 42%. So again, like I went to my mom's apartment and that's a place I would stay for like 12 months because it's so comfortable. It's got a 2nd bedroom. So when other people would come and visit, they'd have a sleepover room. So yeah, like it's really good to be able to speak with someone who knows what they do. So actually, one quick question. I was even thinking about this. This came into a recent thought, a holiday home. I was like, Sujira, what about if maybe me and my partner, every time we come to Nairobi, I always go to Mombasa, in terms of holidays. Well, and someone here could maybe be like, you know what? I don't want to live in Nairobi. Maybe every time I go to Kenya, I want to go live in Mombasa, stay there 3 months in Mombasa, Nyali, in the beach, but now instead of me paying Airbnb, I can just pay rent, $500 a month. But now throughout the year, leave it as in terms of a rental, and even some of your corporates when they want to go on holiday too, right? When they're maybe in Kenya, they have that availability. We can even send them to Mombasa. What are your thoughts on Mombasa? And could you advise on there as well?
Oh, good Lord. I'm not so sure whether I'm the right one to speak about Mombasa. Holiday homes. Okay, so the coast is a lot different from Nairobi. From a standpoint of I would say maybe for rental is different. When you're owning a property in the coast, the maintenance cost is very high. The air is very salty. So you find that, maintenance costs go much higher. So I think maybe on the safe side, stick to Nairobi. Also, the coast is very seasonal. As I'm sure you can imagine, it's more popular over the Christmas holiday, and then your June, July, when there's the northern summer, then you have a big inflow of tourists coming in to visit. And then around the holidays, and in which case it would be more your local tourists taking up the spaces. But there will be quite a number of months when the property is not taken up and still requires or demands similar maintenance. Again, the air in the coast is mostly, high humidity, high salt. So you have a combination of, that humidity, mold on walls, on cabinetry that needs to be freshened up almost, you can say, every other day basis. Whereas here in Nairobi, because the altitude is much higher and you have thin air, mold is not really an issue unless there's, some form of steam, in the showers. By this time, the place is taken up. So you're able to kind of lock and go. And, when you have a client, maybe a day prior, have somebody come, dust is all you would deal with in Nairobi. Whereas in the coast, you would deal with a lot more. So I'm not very well versed to speak on the coast. And like I said, my experience of it was with a property, and we were coming in as the landlord. So I felt the maintenance costs were quite high. Especially, like I said, when you're relying on just a very seasonal flow of visitors coming in, and a lot of downtime in between. So Nairobi, I think, still remains the place where at least I can speak on that with a good level of confidence, especially, like I said, if you're staying within those blue zone spaces.
Well, yeah, at least for me, stick to Nairobi, stick to what I know. Anyway, I'm already there. So guys, in terms of questions, again, feel free. So again, we're doing a 6 episode series. So initially my thought also, one boy, was, okay, I don't want to take too many clients all at once. So I said, let me do 3 each quarter, 3 clients, so I can really focus on getting the best place, because that's the most important thing. And then the other processes are really more simpler. once the lease agreement, we have a good lawyer. Exactly what you said, all the terms are good. So adding you to the team helps me as well because it gets that also extra consultation. So again, people will be paying for your time as well. Like, we're paying for One Boy's time, guys. Your time that you've reached at such a high status in what you do. So part of a lot of, the people who do pay for, what we're going to help them do with these TV series on setting this up is going to One Boy in terms of the consultation side, really getting your advice on the ground. So that's like really exciting. So yeah, you guys, I've put my link in the chat. We'll have to do also like a YouTube waiver form for some of you guys if you want to enter as a TV series and be up, so we can also get sponsors and things like that. So we'll have to have another contract there. So yeah, let's get started. For those of you guys who are ready and want to become a part of this journey. One Boy, what's a last piece of advice before we do get out of here? If no one has any other questions in the meantime, I think it was great for me because like I'm already playing in this space. A lot of people haven't done this yet. So a lot of them are still, some people are shy, but for me, I'm already in it. So the more questions for me I ask you, it helps me with my places and because I'm going to get more. So it's like, also to help you serve your clients. So it was really good to ask from my perspective. So yeah, any last kind of pieces of advice?
Well, I think proceed with some element of caution, but confidence. Like you said, the biggest risk is, can you make the rent? If you can answer that question, then I think the rest is more or less, it will flow. Yeah, proceed with confidence with Nairobi. Nairobi is interesting if you're coming here for the first time. If you're diaspora returning back to Nairobi, welcome home. The eyes that you bring into the city are fantastic. You are much needed here to bring in that, that outside perspective. So bring that. It's very much valued because a lot of our corporate clients will be coming in from outside the country and will appreciate, that little extra this and that, the like that you are bringing into your properties and into the investment and into the way you run it. So yeah, I want to say proceed with some confidence. Once you've overcome, at least made a good decision about whether you're happy to make the monthly rental, even if the property is vacant. If you can answer that, then I think, yeah, welcome. I'm happy. I'm so excited to take this journey. I'm excited about a database of landlords that we can work with closely. I'm happy to partner with, like-minded people, maintaining high integrity principles as well, but also looking at things from that business angle. That is important, so that it makes sense. So I'm excited about this.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your honesty. And like I said, guys, that was my biggest thing was if it's vacant, can I afford the rent? If you can get over that, because if you can't, then it becomes too much pressure if you're not getting bookings. Then you put pressure on us. I don't want to work with someone who's in an a lack mindset, more like, oh, I need bookings. Like if you're going to make my job a living hell. And I would rather someone not pay me than make my job. The business that I do, we all of our clients are family. Like even One Boy's, becoming part of the family. When I come to Nairobi, I'm really excited to also meet you in person and from a lot of you guys will be doing the marketing too. So I think the great part will be the furnishing side as well. And we've got quite extensive experience on that side. So guys, book in your free coaching sessions. If you haven't joined up yet, it's going to be a 6-episode series. So, join in. Like, what are you waiting for? Like, I just feel like for me, I'm very urgent and I remind people all the time, like I'm a marketer. So it's like, guys, this is powerful. And I've seen, even the fact that you guys are here, there's only very few who are thinking like you guys. The fact that you're even watching this webinar and you can stay for all this time, it puts you even in a special category because most people want to watch Netflix or maybe they're busy with their works, but this is a way for you not only to relocate back home, but you can earn income from it. And you maybe get one apartment and then One Boy has many clients, 20, 40 clients. You guys, we're going to need more apartments. And we're actually helping the economy of Kenya. Think about if we're giving income to all these different landlords. We're bringing people from overseas all to our apartments, and you're going to play a special role in making them feel good about Kenya and bring more people to Kenya, bring more people. This is how we build the economy. Imagine we have 50 apartments with all of our members here, 60 apartments, all, and they're all renting them out, and people look like, think about how the property management, the cleaning, we're going to create more jobs for people. Like, all of us are playing a huge role in the development of Africa and where it's going, and especially Kenya.
I love it.
Cool, guys. All right. Well, if no one has any other questions, you will have anyway. When we do the consultations and you're part of this process, they can get, a lot of people might more specific questions for you than within a group setting. So whoever is part of this series, and everything will be documented. We have everything on Zoom documented. So we'll be able to get all the information from you as well. And then they can ask all their individual questions there. Okay. Okay, guys,
Yes.
I've put in the chat the link that you guys can click on to book in a session. If you've already got your booking, a lot of you guys have already booked in meetings in advance, I'll see you guys then. And one boy, I'm really looking forward to having you on the team and doing this with you. Again, you were the perfect referral partner for us, and I'm glad it's become such an authentic and powerful relationship that can also help others.
Thank you, Sujira. I look forward to this as well. I do. I love it. I love it.
Okay, guys, see you later, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Have a lovely rest of your day.
Yes.